Maybe not allegedly.
Oh, maybe I just am. Hey, what happened? I wanted the Golem voice. God,
Hey, look, I have
the
cool. Mug, man. See the mug?
Oh, yeah. Crazy. Yeah, so how's everything going?
Everything is lovely. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Just
dealing with the stuff.
It's just been kind of a nightmare lately with my computer and just, it was like about a month ago, it broke down and I could just, when I'd start it, it took like 300 times. It's sort of like a car or a lawnmower when you try to pull on it for like an hour and all of a sudden, oh, there it goes, it worked. So like it turned on and then I turned off automatic updating because as soon as you do that, your computer has to restart. So then I said, so I let it run for about 2 weeks and then one day it stopped and then I turned it on and about like within an hour I got it working again. So I was like, oh, thank God. And then just the other day it broke down and I sat there for 3 hours hitting restart.
And you want to just throw it out the window.
Yeah, but I had another computer already ordered in the meantime, but they had a delay because of China and all the shutdowns. So then it's like, this should have been here 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago.
What a mess.
Yeah, so anyways, it should be here shortly.
Hopefully today, right?
Yeah,
maybe?
Hopefully today, yeah. Hopefully
we'll
today.
See.
They say it's out for delivery, so we'll see.
Ay.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very detailed one with a lot of reading that we're going to be doing today. We may get through both of the transcripts, maybe not. But today, part 3 that we're on here is about Butch Atwood. He was the man who was in the school bus on the scene. He was the last person to see Maura, as far as we know. The Westmans, mainly Faith. She is the one who called 911 first. And then some stuff from the police. Those are the transcripts that we have, courtesy of Aaron Larkin, who sent those along to me. You can find them out on the internet as well, but I believe through FOIA requests. She's the one who was able to get those. She's done a ton of work on Maura's case. So we should probably get started.
It almost seems like this is the most important part of the whole case, just what happened in that little 4 to 10 minute window, right? I mean, it's like a really
I don't think there's any 10-minute window, but
well, I'm just saying, that's why I'm saying 4 to I don't know, who the hell.
It's such a short period of time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I kept going over yesterday. And then when you and I were messaging after we both looked at this, I'm just like, wow, the window's so small. You almost think, oh, it's got to be a rumor that the window that she disappeared in is this tiny, because often we'll say in cases, they turned around and all of a sudden so-and-so was gone. And that really that probably means it was 15 minutes or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But in this case,
it's all
an eyewitness physically sees her and the 911 call was made right prior to that. And then she was gone. It was just that fast in just a number of minutes.
Yeah, and then obviously
nobody could locate her.
She even saw her before the 911 call too, a little bit. But the 911 call, obviously that's why she called 911. So there's like a 911 call at 27 after, and then.
Well, yeah, she could see the car, Faith, and then Butch drives up when Faith's already calling 911, and then Butch drives home, and also talks to his wife, and they get on the phone and they're calling 911. But the police are already en route from Faith's phone call. Yeah. And they show up right then and they go and knock on Butch's door. So, did you see this girl? And she's like, no, she was right there.
Yeah.
Well, she's not right there now.
Right.
So where is she?
Hey, hold on one second. I got to grab my Gatorade. I didn't have any time to do anything because I had to get everything set up. But let me just grab it and set it.
No problem.
All right, just a second.
And hey to the chat on YouTube. How are you guys? Yeah, Aaron's great, Kimmy. There's so much research that goes into this, and so many good people have done work before this, the books and the Oxygen series and the Missing Maura Murray series by Tim and Lance. Then you've got John, the Truth Seeker. He has a website. there's a lot. A lot of people have got notes, websites, interviews, podcasts, but then you've got to go through each and every thing and compare what you're seeing so that you're not bringing something false. You know, you can't really verify 100% if it's false, but if I see something, then I've got to spend 2 hours going through to see, okay, did somebody else say something matching this? Could this be verified? For example, Cecil, the first officer on the scene, you know, it was rumored that he had Alzheimer's, and I didn't know that to be true. So I had to dig up his the listing at the funeral home, and his family, in fact, was asking for donations for that foundation. So I thought that had some credibility. But prior to that, you know, it was just a note on the side. Is this true or is this not true? Because there are a lot out there in this case that's strictly rumors, like Maura being pregnant when it was really a homework assignment that she was doing about pregnancy. So things kind of just run off onto their own storyline in this case. It's wild.
That's right. I know.
Whenever you are ready to bring it up.
There we go.
Here we go. Okay. So the first thing we're going to go over are Butch and the Westmans. And I included this part, Gray, too, just because this I find important because of what they said. This is an Abby Kennedy who was in the Maura's Facebook official group. So it says, there were still some efforts to locate the driver of the Saturn by police, Sergeant Cecil Smith of the Haverhill Police Department and New Hampshire State Police Officer Monahan. And we're going to read both of their, or we're going to try to get to them today, their transcripts of the interviews that were done by two other people looking into the case, local neighbors and some members of the fire department and EMS. In total, the foot search that night covered the Game Trail, Old Peters Road, up and down both sides of 112, and was conducted for about an hour. Indeed, the fire department arrived at 7:56 and left at 8:49. Note, the game trail or gaming trail runs along the Westman's back fields, the length of their property to the Atwoods property. According to one person who was part of the search that night, which is Abby, I can only speak for fire and EMS. We did not search past Bradley Hill Road on that side and not past Atwoods on that side. This was because there were no footprints at all. We did not search in the other direction, all because we had come from that way and we hadn't seen anybody despite the bolo that was put out on her. I would say that we looked for about an hour, and that would be quite an overstatement.
What about like to go the other direction towards the barn? You know, on the corner there, did they go that way?
Both sides of 112, but there were some areas they didn't go past. Also, they came from the direction, that direction. So there's no need to go searching there. If they're coming in, they all came in from the same direction. Mm-hmm. There was no young lady walking along the road anywhere.
What about like this way?
Additionally, there were no footprints, which is why it was so important for me to put that in there. They were looking for that. Mm-hmm. You know, they're looking for footprints, but they're not seeing any.
Because it sounds like they were over here behind Atwood, because there's Atwood, and then aren't the Westmans right here or something? Like right there?
So
Atwood's right here, for sure.
We did not search past Bradley Hill Road on that side.
Okay.
And not past Atwood's on that side.
So they didn't go over here because there was no footprints.
Not that night, because you see where the crash site is, right?
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
Right. So if they're all coming in from that direction.
Mm-hmm. They didn't see anybody, but that would mean she was on the road. But like, you know, what if she went?
Somebody would have, I would hope, would have passed her if she was walking on the road. Otherwise, she's walking on, you know, within the trees, maybe hiding.
Yeah, but the thing is, if she's drunk, you know, let's say she was drinking and she just got in another wreck. She isn't gonna want to be walking on the road, because she's wanted to hide and just let her car be there. That's why she didn't want to call police. Once she knew the police was coming, then you could say that maybe, I mean, obviously she didn't want the police to be there and she didn't want to be found out. So
Maybe,
if the,
right?
yeah, because I mean, that's why she told Atwood, if that actually happened, right? I guess you could question that he never said that, but if she did tell him, hey, I don't want you to call 911, then that means she doesn't want to be seen or found and just kind of wants to go away. Maybe she would have just walked into the woods, but then again, there's no footprints. Okay, so, anyways, it just never ends. The footprints, if not true, are the biggest red herring in the history of this case. If not true. Yeah, if she did go in and they just missed her footprints,
And I get you because I know you, right? So you're just like, well, there had to be something because aliens didn't take her. Yeah. I get it, of course. But flip it around to any other case that we've talked about. You would say, in my opinion, if I was imitating Gray Hughes, yeah. Right? You would say, okay, so you're telling me that the police, state trooper, the fire department, and EMS are lying?
No, I wouldn't say they're lying. I'm just saying they might have missed. I wouldn't say that they're lying. That'd be crazy.
Did they all miss it?
That they're lying, but maybe there's just one set of footprints somewhere that just, they missed.
Wouldn't they be leading away from the car, though?
I mean, there was Did they just have her footprints walking down the street and then they went poof, gone? Did they have her footprints?
No, they only had her footprints around her car, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we need more information than that, of course, because how does that make sense? Was she abducted by a bear who came out beside her car and grabbed her? Or was she only around her car and she hopped on the bus? Did she get in a car that stopped to help her right after Butch drove away without Faith or the other neighbors seeing that as they're looking at the scene? I don't know.
Yeah, but, I mean, I probably would say something like that, like, oh, come on. I mean, the thing is, in this case, it just seemed like it was almost like Andy Griffith, kind of like everybody's coming out there just, hey, and do we really know how much they were really looking for that? I mean, I'm sure they were looking for footprints right away to try to find her, but maybe she walked down the road and went in around some weird place that they didn't really look that night, They looked all around the car into the woods, but did they look everywhere? That's why I'm asking, because that angle actually seems to be the most logical, except there's all this other stuff that's going on that makes you wonder.
Well, we can only go by what the direct witnesses on the scene say, right? That's all we really have in this entire case are the few people who were there in the moments from that call to finding out, wait, she's gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's true that you got to do it that way. But like in the Molly Tibbetts case, a direct witness, the mother, said, oh, yeah, man, one of her red shirts is missing. Oh, my God, one of her red shirts is missing. And it just threw everything off. Everybody was kind of, that made, you had to base everything on this red shirt. And it turns out, because in that case, there was this whole timing issue with this red shirt. So everything was based on the fact about that red shirt. And then it turns out one day I just said, let's get rid of the red shirt. And then everything started falling into place. And then the case turned out that the red shirt, later on, it turns out, oh, well, she had like 5 or 6, so I'm not really sure. It was crazy how like a month later, it came out where the red shirt didn't have anything to do with anything. But
so
we're not going to
down that route.
We're not going to be able to prove it, though. We're not going to be able to prove the footprints, though. There's no, we can't have somebody eventually say, well, there really was footprints,
Right, because in all the time that these people have been interviewed, police personnel, fire, EMS, Atwood, for whatever reason, they are saying there were no footprints.
Yeah.
Which, and I bring it up because to me, it's baffling. Why? Well, where? Why? I don't understand that whole point. Why aren't there footprints? Was the scene documented properly? All of those pictures haven't been released as far as I know. Did they take pictures of the ground of her footprints? Did they just think, and I think that they did, make the assumption She was a drunk driver. She just drove away. She just ran away. She was a drunk driver and she left. Well, where'd she go then? And if they thought that, maybe they didn't look very well. And they don't want to, say, well, we kind of just thought she was some drunk girl. But she's a drunk girl who just got into an accident then. Why aren't you looking for her to make sure she isn't hurt? So anyway, I've written it down. I've gone over it. I've talked to myself about it.
Yeah.
Any way you look at this, in my opinion, whether you thought she was sober, crashed, and got into a car, sober, crashed, and walked away, drunk, crashed, not hurt, and walked away, drunk, crashed, hurt, and walked away.
She still went poof.
They did a shitty job of looking for her.
Yeah.
Because
so that's the thing, right? So that
is the thing.
And when you say shitty job, then does that then bleed into the footprint aspect? Did they really look that well?
It might.
So
are they saying all of this, that there were no footprints and, they don't know what happened and they spent an hour, but, they never found anything? Are they saying that to cover their butts because of what it's turned into?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And yet people have gone out and searched that whole area anyways, even though they keep saying there was no footprints. But anyways, we're already at 6.
Yeah, we can't spend all this time on each page. We're going to be here until next month.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, we've done 17 minutes on this page. All right.
Yeah, we can't do that. So.
All right. So I'm going to move
All right, on. Next. Resident Butch Atwood took his personal vehicle, drove a loop to Mountain Lakes, to the Swiftwater Stage Shop, and to French Pond Road for about 15 minutes. It's estimated he left around 7:55. Lieutenant Monahan arrived on the scene, spoke to Cecil, and then drove towards Swiftwater into Woodsville and looked at Mountain Lakes, and then ultimately drove off to attend another matter. It's estimated he left the scene around 8:02. Why the hell does that say 6 p.m.? That must be a typo. I apologize. Although this is up for debate. Cecil Smith was on the scene from his arrival, noted in the dispatch log as 7:46 p.m., until he was called to another case at Lime Kiln Road at 9:27. During that time, he took 7 photos, including the tire imprints in the snow, in addition to other duties such as talking to neighbors and making several calls. Pause. Cecil Smith was on the scene from 7:46 to 9:27. He took a total of 7 photos. If he took a photo of the tire imprints, the inside of Maura's car, which I've seen, there were at least 2 of those that I saw, so that's 3. I don't know what the other...
Could some of the photos that we see be from other people, but Cecil only took 7? Or is he the only person that took photos?
I think he's the only person who took photos that night. Yeah. Yeah.
And only 7, huh? Jeez. That's... okay.
Yeah. How recent was... There was snow on the ground, for sure. There was snow on the ground. It was not actively snowing, but there was snow. Usually... up north on the roads, when you're driving around, the snow is going to turn into water, obviously. So your roads are going to be damp. One witness said it was a very light snow. Either way, you're assuming if somebody walks away from that, keep in mind, if she got out of the car, she was allegedly against a snowbank, her driver's door. So you're stepping out and you're kind of stepping up onto that snow. So now your boots or sneakers or whatever she's wearing has snow on them. Because you're trying to get away from the snowbank to get out of the car to leave.
Well, but should we move on? Let's get. We got to get zipped through these things. So, we're gonna have
we
to.
do.
We're gonna have to
there
ignore some
you
of the chat.
Take this one?
Probably ignore some of the chat questions. So don't get offended out there
until the end. Yeah, we'll try and answer.
On the morning of Wednesday, February 11th, the NHSP began a search supervised by Todd Bogardus of New Hampshire Fish and Game in conjunction with the Haverhill Police Department. At this time, the Haverhill Police Department was still in charge of Maura's case. It is noted that the team was brought in 36 hours after the crash on a clear, cold morning. The temperature had remained steady since Maura's disappearance, and there was no new snow on the ground. Bogardus reports on oxygen there was about 1.5 of 2 feet of snow. About 1.5 to 2 feet of snow with a thin crust on the top. He noted that anyone walking off the road would have easily left footprints. Bogardus indicates they covered the significant area of 112 and outlying roads over probably 10-mile distance. At the end of that day, they had no human foot tracks going into the woodlands off the roadways that were not either cleared or accounted for. Bogardus goes on to say that at the end of the day, the consensus was she did not leave the roadway. Well, there you go. That's somebody that, was looking. Go ahead if you want to do this one.
Yeah. So there are several points that we are still unclear on. Newspapers have reported things regarding the same moments. So the Boston Herald may have said something, but the Boston Globe said something else. And these are questions that are, in my estimation, very important, but contradictory from the same people. So either the newspapers are getting it wrong, or people are giving different version of the same event within days to weeks to months of telling the first version. Was she inside of the car? Was she outside of the car when Butch came to speak to her? Did she get out to speak to Butch Atwood? Did he get out of his bus to speak to her? Could he see her entire face? Keep in mind the airbags were deployed. How was her height estimated if she never got out of the car?
Yeah.
So we're going to go on to, I didn't mean to do that. Damn.
I mean, it does get kind of dodgy. There's some weird stuff regarding that,
There is. I think you've taught me enough over the years to try to be very logical and stay away from the conspiracy theories. And I've looked at this with the most logical mind that I can. But if I continue, there are so many inconsistencies that are out here. It's very difficult. So I'm going to play this video, Gray. It's only like 30 seconds. It's just embedded. So Tell me if you can hear the sound of this.
Okay.
Just asked her how she was. She said she was shaken up. I couldn't see any blood on her face. And she was shaking like this. I says, okay, I'm going to go call the police.
I spoke with one witness that actually talked to Maura Murray that night at the accident scene. That witness says that Maura appeared a bit shook up, but she did not appear intoxicated.
So could you guys all hear that?
Yeah, but see, that was
okay.
Okay, go ahead. But
well, that there was Butch.
Saying
he was Butch, and this was on Discovery ID, and she interviewed him and asked, did she appear intoxicated? How was she? And he just said, no, she was just shook up. And I told her, I was going to call the police. And she was like, oh, no, I called AAA. And that was it.
But that's completely contradictory to something later. Because he says she's standing,
Well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so, I guess we'll get to that point. But see,
sure.
But here's the thing.
And that's why I put all this together. Because this is what he says. He says.
What year was that ID TV thing, though?
I could look it up for you, but I don't have the exact date.
Yeah, so he probably, things change too over time. Maybe you're trying to make somebody seem, it's just, I go, like a lot of times I go with what they said, like extemporaneous, right at the time.
Sure.
But then there's even stuff there that go, so who the hell knows, right?
Sure.
All
right, let's go.
Butch Atwood is the last person to see and speak to Maura Murray. The Westmans could see her, but they never left their homes to speak to her or get a closer look. His statements have been scrutinized due to them changing.
Mm-hmm. And this is article number 1. I tried to put them in order. If it's February, you might see February 20th and then see February 11th, but February, then March, April, etc. So this one is from the Caledonian Record. Butch Atwood wishes the events of the night of February 9th had gone much differently for a missing 21-year-old Massachusetts woman. Atwood was on his way home about a mile from Swiftwater on Route 112 in Haverhill. When rounding the sharp left-hand curve by the weathered barn, he saw a black Saturn partially in the roadway and partially mirrored in the snow. It was about 7:30, he said. The driver had failed to negotiate the sharp curve after passing the barn, gone off the road, and struck a stand of trees on the right side of the highway. The car sustained extensive front-end damage. Atwood, a school bus driver for First Student, was returning from dropping off students after a day of skiing at Wildcat Mountain. He stopped the school bus by their Saturn to see if he could help. She was still in the car, referring to Maura Murray. And then they say, you know, she's a nursing student, etc. Atwood said the Saturn's lights weren't on. Quote, I shine the light in her car. I said, are you okay? She said she was. Atwood said he got a good look at her. She looked to be about 20 and had dark hair. As a matter of safety, he told her to turn her car lights on so no one would strike her vehicle coming around the curve. So there's a couple of things here. She was in her car and she had her lights off. He shined a light into her car. Let's go to the next one, Gray, if you want to.
Well, I was going to say up here, like some of this stuff isn't accurate. Like he came around the curve a mile from his house. I mean, it's not even close to a mile. So you always wonder, like, how much, you know, creative licensing.
Well, also they did a recreation, and she definitely hit a snowbank, and she did not hit trees. So
yeah,
that didn't cause all that damage. So,
want me to do this one?
Sure.
However, he couldn't get through to the Haverhill Police Department and the Grafton County Sheriff's Department. He called 911 and the operator couldn't either. Atwood said another 911 operator was able to get through. While he was talking on his phone on his front porch, Atwood could see the road, but not Murray's disabled car. He saw several vehicles drive by, but couldn't tell any makes or models because it was so dark. After about 7 to 9 minutes, he looked out and saw the Haverhill police. Atwood believed the situation was under control and went to the school bus to tend to his paperwork. The next thing he knew, Haverhill Police Department Sergeant Cecil Smith was banging on his bus window. Smith asked him if he had called in the accident and seen anyone at the scene. And that's sort of interesting there. Atwood told Smith he had seen a girl about 20 with dark hair. Smith said when he arrived, Murray was no longer with her car. In the 7 to 9 minutes between the time Atwood left Murray to call for help and the time Smith arrived, Murray had vanished. I took a ride around the back roads, Atwood said. I was gone about 15 minutes. Then I took a ride to French Pond. He even drove about a mile down the road to the store in Swiftwater to check and see if she was there. She wasn't. When he returned to the accident scene, a New Hampshire State Police trooper was there. Atwood said they checked the woods in the immediate area to see if Murray had gone into the forest. There weren't any tracks. He said there wasn't any way Murray could have driven the car after the accident. He said the radiator had been pushed back into the fan. The airbag also had been deployed. However, he said it didn't appear Murray had been injured, just shaken up. I just wish I could have got her to come with me, he lamented. But I'm a big man, over 350 pounds. She may have gotten into a car with someone who was clean cut. Atwood believes one of the vehicles which had passed his house could have stopped and picked her up. She could be anywhere, absolutely, Atwood said. He said whoever may have picked her up could have driven her toward the area of Lincoln or back to Route 302 and over to Vermont. Anyone who has seen Murray is asked to contact the New Hampshire State Police. That's 603-846-3333. All right.
Sure. That's also, very interesting that he's thinking people are taking her to 302 or to Vermont or whatever.
Well,
the
whole thing about the bus is kind of interesting because he's like, would you really go into... I mean, here's what I would say. It's weird to go into your bus to do paperwork, but you could be explaining that you're in the bus doing paperwork to explain why when Cecil got there, you were in your bus. And then if that's, so kind of
And
interesting.
also, his wife was interviewed and they said, was the bus searched? And she said, no. Just saying. So we'll get to that part.
Yeah.
Boston Globe, February 21st, 2004. Still recent, right? Murray then withdrew. So I took excerpts, from each thing using the word intoxicated, drinking, drunk, alcohol, all of those things. I searched through all the newspaper articles. So a witness who offered Murray help after she crashed her car told police she appeared to be intoxicated. An open bottle of alcohol was found in the car, Rausch said. Rausch being Bill Rausch, her boyfriend at the time. So Bill is talking to the Boston Globe. He says to them that witness told Cecil that she was intoxicated.
And that was Butch Atwood, right? The witness?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the boyfriend is talking to the Globe, doing an interview on Maura to get the story out. And he says, well, yeah, the witness who was on the scene told the cops that she had been drinking. That's really crazy, considering Butch is saying I didn't think she was drinking. She just seemed shook up.
But in that,
so now
later,
here you're finding the first issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
That somehow the police have told the family and the boyfriend, well, the witness told me she was drinking, but the witness is saying, well, I didn't say that she was drinking. She didn't seem like she was drinking to me. Or did he say that? We're going to find out.
Yeah, but then,
so
do we really
frustrating.
find out? Do we really find out, though? That's the thing.
I don't even know if we really find out. So
yeah.
Here's another thing that lends to me that she was not running off to go commit suicide or some wackadoodle theory. In her car was a blank accident form from the Amherst police. Okay, so if we all remember parts 1 and 2, she had borrowed her dad's car. Her car, the Saturn, was in very bad condition. She had gotten an accident in her dad's car, and her dad said, please go pick up the accident forms at Amherst, and I'll get them from you. So she did that. In her car also were a diamond necklace, some of her belongings, her nursing books to study. These are not things I would think that I would take with me if I was going to, unalive myself.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that's something she was thinking of. But, I mean, you can see, here's what you can see, that she had that paperwork in there about the wreck that she had just got in. And then here she is again, possibly drinking, and crashes her car. Mm-hmm. Now it's like she's not going to want to talk to her dad. Now it's just this nightmare of just guilty.
Well,
so,
sure. Sure. You might feel like, well, I messed up my dad's car and I'm embarrassed. And now but okay. If you look at the damage to her car, and I have photos of it, she didn't total the car. Her car was not totaled. There's dents in the front. There's a spider web crack up on the dash of the windshield. I mean, I've seen my niece do worse and drive away from it. Yeah. So to me, I wasn't like, oh my God, she totaled the car. She definitely hurt her dad's car more than she hurt this car.
I would say in a nutshell, this case is one of those things where the most likely thing that you would think was she didn't want to be caught because it was so shameful that here we are again. I wouldn't want a
DUI, yeah.
Yeah, and so then she wandered off and she tried to get out of the scene so she wouldn't be seen by police, and then somehow wandered off and died in the exposure, okay? That's the most likely thing. However, then you have all that contradictory stuff, no footprints and all stuff.
Well, so the other reason that I will not believe that is this was the girl who went through the military stuff. Mm-hmm. She was an avid hiker. She was a camper. She was from up north. She loved all things outdoors. There's no way, unless she was just shitty drunk and, Atwood talked to her. Mm-hmm. He didn't think she was
except.
Or did he?
Yeah. So there you go.
She's not going to stay in those woods. you're smart. You cut through the woods, you go to somebody else's house, you knock on the door and say, hey, my car broke down. I need some help. I don't want to get caught for DUI. But it could be a situation
where it was so cold outside that she kind of went over to hide and rest a little bit, and then because she was drunk a little bit, she fell asleep or something, kind of was sitting there and just kind of passed out and then never woke up. I mean, it's sort of like what happened with Kanika, except that was she couldn't get out.
But nobody's found her since then?
Well, I don't know where she went,
the searches they've done.
Well, you'd think they would. Maybe she walked 3 or 4 miles before she
possibly
laid down. See, that's where the thing is. That's the most likely scenario based on what happened. Except then if you were just devoid of knowledge of anything else, the fact that the dogs quit sniffing down the road, and then there's no footprints. That's what everybody would assume if none of that stuff existed, right? But
it does exist.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So because it exists, that's where you're able to go on all these other directions.
I mean, you can only go with the evidence. And what the evidence shows is a girl who isn't stupid, isn't suicidal, isn't, afraid of the elements. She's an outdoors girl.
Yeah, that's probably why she could have easily walked into the elements, because she's not scared of it. But she was drunk and sort of
I'd be scared. I'm staying on the road and taking the DUI. I'm not going into the woods, right? Yeah. I'm not doing it. I'm afraid. I'm not going. No, there's a bear out there. Right. It's going to eat me for sure. Anyway, we can't keep taking these breaks. Let's go. Press release.
Okay. Are we on to the next one?
We'll get to our theories at the end. February 9th, this press release, they put this out, the Haverhill Police Department, just about him responding. He responded at the accident scene. He found an abandoned vehicle, the Saturn, with Massachusetts registration. He could not locate the driver. Witnesses at the scene reported seeing a lone female with no apparent injury who appeared impaired due to alcohol consumption. When asked if she needed help or for the police to respond, she replied no. The female left the scene prior to the arrival of emergency personnel. Goes on to explain all of this other stuff.
And that's Atwood right there, again, right?
This is from the police, the same officer who told the family that Atwood, the witness, said she was impaired. Now let's keep going.
Me? Okay.
Yes,
a subsequent search of the vehicle.
You're controlling the screen, so you.
Oh, I thought you want to go to the next page. Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to read every detail of these. This is very specific what we're doing right now.
Police in New Hampshire waited 36 hours before launching a full-scale search for a University of Massachusetts nursing student who vanished last week after crashing into a snowbank, according to the woman's father. I'm getting more scared by the hour, Maura Murray's father, Fred, said yesterday from a motel near the Vermont state line. Time could be running out for her. People just don't vanish. Haverhill police and paramedics looked for the 21-year-old Hanson, Massachusetts native shortly after 7 p.m. February 9th, when an elderly couple reported that a car had crashed near their home on a sharp turn on Route 112. But it was not until 2 days later that a state police helicopter, search and rescue dogs, and New Hampshire Fish and Game officials began an intensive search because Haverhill police assumed she was likely a drunken driver who had left the scene, they told Frederick Murray. A witness whose help she declined, Butch Atwood, told police she appeared to be intoxicated and a bottle of alcohol was found in her car. Tracking dogs ultimately lost their scent within 100 feet of the accident, leading investigators to believe she hitched a ride.
Yep. Next page.
Yep.
After Murray's accident, Butch Atwood said he was returning from taking students skiing when he spotted her car half in the road and half out without its flashers on about 7:30 p.m. Others near the scene said the car's flashers were on. Atwood, who drives the student bus, etc., wanted to see if he could help. She was still in her car. Atwood said she looked about 20 and had dark hair. I saw no blood. She was cold and shivering, and I told her I was going to call the police. Murray, according to Atwood, told him not to because she already called AAA. Atwood said he invited the woman to wait in his house nearby, but she declined. He said he then went home to call 911. Now, Atwood said she looked 20, had dark hair, blah, blah, blah. At no time does Atwood say she was intoxicated. Again, anything quoting from him is what we want to read. So this is from 17 magazine. If you want to go down to where it says,
I thought it said something. I thought it said something about intoxicated in this one. Not? It didn't?
No. It said that police said, the witness said. Then they have a quote directly from Atwood saying, I saw no blood. She was cold and shivering. I told her I was going to call the police.
Okay.
Now, if you start where it says Maura's 96 Saturn.
Yeah, Maura's 96 Saturn careened off the road into the woods, barely missing a tree.
Barely missing a tree.
Yeah, she was fine.
But I thought she had hit a bunch of trees prior to this.
Well, I mean, but that just shows you that people weren't...
Just another inconsistency, that's all I'm saying.
The car wasn't. The radiator was damaged, and the wheels sank into a few feet of packed snow. About 5 minutes later, a school bus drove by. Butch Atwood, the driver, was off duty and headed to his cabin just up the road. Are you okay? He shouted to Maura Murray in her car. Should I call AAA? Maura... Wait, what? Wait, who said that? Maura... Should I call AAA? Maura Murray rolled down her window and shivered from the 12-degree chill. She mumbled that she'd already called AAA for a tow. Atwood thought she seemed like she'd been drinking. Okay, he said. I'll call the police and fire department. Why don't you come to my house? You can get warm and wait there. No, Maura Murray replied firmly. I'll wait here. So he's the one that said to her, hey, should I call AAA? He says it in
this magazine, yes.
But he also said, should I call AAA? And then she said, so that part is still true. She said, well, I'm not, I've already called, but then he realized, oh, that's bogus because your cell phone.
This is the very first time I've heard, and now we're in May. The accident was in February. We've read other things that he has allegedly said. He told her he was going to call the police. Now he shouts to her, nothing about, I flashed the light in and I didn't see blood. But now it's, should I call AAA? And she rolls the window down and mumbled that she already did. And then now she seemed like she had been drinking. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, and the other ones he just says shivering, but...
Atwood, a school bus driver, lives 100 yards off the accident site. Okay.
So
Atwood spoke to her and offered her help, including calling police and EMS. However, Murray insisted that Atwood not call the police. She insisted because she had already called AAA. Murray did not appear to be intoxicated, according to Atwood. Police said there was a container of alcohol found in the car. Atwood went to his house to call for help. About 7 to 9 minutes later, Cecil Smith arrived at the scene. She was nowhere to be found. That's the Caledonian Record on May 6th.
The first police officer arrived at 7:40. Well, up above it says, did they simply assume it was a person fleeing from a DUI? The first police officer arrived at 7:46 p.m. He found a car but no woman. Inside the Saturn, police later detected the smell of alcohol and found stains on the driver's side door and the ceiling that looked like red wine. Red liquid was found on the ground, as well as an empty soda bottle which smelled of booze. It was obvious that she'd been drinking, says Jeff Strelzin, chief of homicide unit at the New Hampshire Attorney General's office and the lead prosecutor in the investigation. There was no sign of a struggle or foul play. Police found no footprints heading off the road into the woods. I'm telling you guys, it was aliens, man. This is just...
Next. Yeah. All right, here we go. Cecil Smith's interview. And we do want to talk a bit about Cecil. Cecil was interviewed for an Oxygen Network TV special, a documentary that was done by Lance and Tim, along with some others. Lance and Tim have the Missing Maura Murray
Crawlspace
podcast, right? at Crawlspace, and yep, they're really great. They have dug into this case. Now, Cecil Smith, the officer, was interviewed for this. Later, we find out that perhaps, the brain disease, Alzheimer's, was already kicked in. I don't know that to be a fact for this interview. We do not know that for a fact. We know that later, some very tragic things happen and people attribute it to that. But at this time, I don't know how accurate that is based on how he's speaking. So we're just going to read what we have and tell you what we know. And we'll get to that part probably much later in this. So Cecil says, as I approached the scene, there was a 90-degree corner. I came around the corner and there was a black vehicle in my lane facing me. I could see tire impressions from going from the road to a group of trees and then back to the vehicle that was at a final rest. I activated my takedown lights. They're like spotlights on your light bar. You can see everything in the area. There was no one around the vehicle. So I went to the first 911 caller, Westman's house, said, "Where's the girl?" He said, "We don't know. Nobody's been here, so we don't know. We haven't seen anything. Nobody leave." I went in and I talked to Mr. Atwood. He said, "I just talked to her a couple of minutes ago. She's right there at the car." I said, "No, she's not there." He described her for me. He said, "It's a pretty young lady, shoulder-length brown hair. She was the only one I saw." I said, did she look like she was hurt? Because when I made a quick check of the vehicle, both airbags were deployed and there was a crack at the windshield driver's side. He said, "Nah, she looked shaken up, but she didn't look hurt. But I think she'd been drinking because she slurred her speech and had to lean on something while she was standing there."
Yeah, and that's in the dispatch, that thing that the document we're going to read, right? Later. Or is that something different? No, that wasn't dispatch. Well, that was Cecil remembering.
This is part of that interview, right here.
Right, yeah.
But the reason this is in here is because now he's out. Saying it allegedly. This is Cecil telling us that Butch said that and that she had to lean on something. Lean on what? And where was she standing?
Yeah, and it's just...
She was in her car.
I mean, you can understand, you can sort of see why people get interested in Butch a little bit. Because there's just so many things. Like, originally, she was just sitting in the car the whole time, sort of squished with the airbags and sort of shaking and like, yeah. Now she's slurring and standing up outside the car, and he'd already asked her, "Hey, do you want to come over to my place?"
Well, it's very interesting. Had you never met me, what height am I, Gray? Had we only ever done this together?
Well, I thought you were 4'6" before I met you, but yeah, that.
So he got her height exact.
Yeah.
He said she was exactly 5. He said she was 5'7". When they put the bolo out, they said 5'7".
Yeah.
That was interesting to me. How did you know that? In any case, he said, I asked her if she wanted me to call the police. She said, nope, no, please don't call the police. And as soon as he left there, he went and apparently made another 911 call, which for some reason went through to the Hanover dispatch and took a lot longer to get back to me than it would have normally taken. So that's what I saw when I got there, and the vehicle was locked. So there's the weathered barn.
That's way back there is the weathered barn, way over on the left, right? This is Butch Atwood on the right here. Way in the background is the weathered barn, I think. This is Butch Atwood's house on the right here.
Well, the question is, when Butch arrived, was she inside the car or out? Did Faith see her get in or get out and speak to Butch? We're going to see. You want to take this one?
Yep. Are we on the next page? Okay.
Yeah, we don't need.
He stopped the school bus by the Saturn to see if he could help. She was still in the car, Atwood said, referring to Maura Murray. Murray was from Hanson, Massachusetts, and is a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, had been missing since the night of the accident. Atwood said the Saturn lights weren't on. I shined the light in her car, he said. I said, "Are you okay?" She said she was. Atwood said he got a good look at her. She looked to be about 20 and had dark hair. As a matter of safety, he told her to turn her car's lights on so no one would strike her vehicle coming around the curve. I saw no blood, he said. She was cold and she was shivering. I told her I was going to call the police. Murray, according to Atwood, told him not to because she had already called AAA. I said, "Okay, I will make a call to the police department and the fire department to check you out," he said. I said, "Why don't you come to my house? You can get warm and wait for the police and EMS." Atwood said she just told him to go. Yeah, I don't know what you... He drove to his house about 75 yards from the scene of the accident and backed in his driveway before running into the house to call police. She just said go. I don't know. Yeah, that doesn't sound like something you would tell somebody who's trying to help.
No, who's trying to help you?
Although maybe he was kind of creepy to her, so maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. There's just so many maybes in this thing. All right.
There are.
Lots of
Next.
maybes.
In a house steps away from the Saturn, resident Faith Westman had also called the police. She was the first one to call the police. She said she saw what looked like a man smoking a cigarette in the car. Her husband later said it could have been a woman on a cell phone. Another neighbor said from her kitchen window, she saw the car stopped with lights flashing and someone walking around the vehicle. Next.
And talking about the night of the accident, she said she called it into police. Westman said she saw Butch Atwood, a school bus driver who lives about 100 yards east of the accident scene, stop and check on Maura. She said she saw Maura get out of her vehicle and talk to Atwood. However, once she saw Atwood talking to Maura, she did not continue watching what was going on. Oh, man. But now it sort of gives proof that maybe she was standing up outside, outside of the car now. So now
she's outside of the car, but Butch, from his own mouth, has only said she was in the car. Cecil said Butch said that she was out and leaning and slurring her speech. Now Faith is saying, I saw her get out of the car and speak to Butch.
Yeah, so I think it's
Butch
likely.
has never said
Yeah.
in an interview that Maura was out of the car.
Not in an interview, but apparently he told Cecil that.
And then he just told every other interview that he did that she was in the car?
Yeah, it's just weird that he would
Possibly.
think that was important, almost like he doesn't want that closeness to the bus and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree.
So it's interesting, She said she saw Maura get out of her vehicle and talk to Atwood. However, once she saw Atwood talking to Maura, she did not continue watching what was going on. We never suspected she would disappear, Westman said. When the police came to our door and asked if she had come in, we were dumbfounded. I can't even imagine losing someone like that. There isn't any closure.
Okay. I wanted to talk to the last one to see her. All the information we got is that she was walking up the road and just disappeared. Nobody just disappears like that. And as far as being picked up or that she ran away, I'm getting angry. She would not do this, and she would have contacted someone. We're pushing 10 days now, and somebody out there knows something. That was from her mom, who's pictured there, who ended up passing away on Maura's birthday.
When the police got there, were her lights on? Like Atwood had her do?
I have no idea.
Because, see, that would be an interesting thing, because if he told her to put the lights on, that's a point in his favor of not having some, because you wouldn't want to, like, draw attention to the area if you're about to abduct somebody, right? If you were going to sort of blame Atwood, it'd be weird for him to want her to turn her lights on. So I'd like to know that.
It would also be weird for her if she was going to run
to turn the lights
cause, to put them on and call more attention to herself when she's trying to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, but except at the same time, maybe if he explained it like there might be an accident, she was like, okay, well, I'll avoid the accident, but I don't want to be here when the cops show up. I don't want people to run into my car. I don't know. But there's just so many.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe drunk people think really, clearly. Allegedly, drunk people.
All right. So
this was an interview with Faith. There used to be a message board up. It was a very active message board, but it's since been, you can't log in to create an account, which I really want one, but I can't get in. So this said, the Westmans said they saw whoever had been in the car when it crashed get in and out of the car several times. They made sure to say that they could not recognize it as Maura Murray because it was too dark, but they could see the form of someone moving around. They saw the interior lights on and off several times and heard the door shut as if someone kept getting in and out of the car. They also said they saw the person open the trunk and close it as well. They never saw anybody else around that car besides that one person and never saw a vehicle stop prior to the police arrival other than the school bus. Both Tim and Faith said that they are positive that nobody walked past their house back towards Route 10. They said that they could see clearly out the front window of their house and would have seen her go by. Plus, the officers came from that way and didn't see her. I was there when it turned dark and the light is fairly bright and the house is close to the road. They feel that she must have walked the other way. If you look where Faith Westman's house is compared to the crash, it's right there.
Yeah, it sort of doesn't make
right
sense,
there.
though, what she just said, that we would have saw her. And the reason I'm saying that is because...
looking out the window,
right, because allegedly. That's the part, right? See, it's like, if you quit watching the wreck, then how would you have seen her? You're like, what do you... Okay, I'm looking at the wreck. Okay, but now I'm just going to look by the street, and I would have seen... No, that means you went back to watch television or whatever the hell else you were doing. Because wouldn't you just keep watching the wreck? So how do you know?
That's what she said.
But she didn't.
We kept watching.
But she didn't watch it. Remember how she said that she didn't see certain things, and she didn't. Well,
she said she never saw her walk away, and she also said that once Butch got there, she was no longer watching.
Right. So. There you go. So how would they know after Butch got there if she did walk by? Because Butch, that's the point in time where she disappears, is right after Butch got there, so that's when she would have walked by. If you quit watching at that point, you wouldn't have seen her. So that, you see what I'm saying? Because once Butch got there, Maura was still there, right? And they quit watching. So that means if she did walk by, they wouldn't have seen her because they quit watching. So that part to me didn't make sense. But anyways, it doesn't though. Come on, be honest. All right. So Jason Hebert interviews Barbara Atwood. He said, "There's not much I do remember. I mean, I came in the house afterwards and it was just wild. I mean, the rumors all over the place." And this is Butch's common law wife, right? How come you're silent? Can you guys hear anybody? Hello. Can you guys hear her? Or? Hello, testing. All of a sudden, you went mute.
I must have touched something.
Oh, there you go. Okay, now you can.
Yes. So Barbara is Butch's wife.
I was wondering why you weren't arguing with me earlier.
Oh, I'm arguing with your ass.
Well, no, but like they wouldn't have noticed, right? Like, cause she.
I heard you, Gray.
Okay. All right,
like I so heard you, Gray.
Like totally. All right.
For sure.
Okay, there's because this is what Barbara, the common law wife, I guess, right? There's not much I do remember. I mean, I came in the house afterwards and it was just wild. I mean, the rumors all over the place. Jason lets her know he thought at one point Maura may have gotten on Butch's bus. She said there were cops everywhere. Jason questions this, thinking it was only Cecil and maybe another officer. He asked if the bus was searched. Barbara said, "I don't think so. They went out looking. He went out looking in the car." Jason asks about the timeline and tells her what he knows of it from gathering information. 7:25 p.m., Faith hears a crash. 7:27, Faith calls 911. 7:30, Faith sees Butch pull up in the bus. Jason states that in a statement, Faith claims she was not sure who was driving the bus.
Barbara also was a bus driver. So Jason says that Faith was like, oh, I didn't know if it was Barbara or Butch, but I learned later it was Butch.
Right. Then at 7:32 p.m., the bus drives off. So he'd already must have talked to her about, AAA and all that. Jason adds a minute or two for him to get home, etc. Barbara says he parked, and then he asks if she needed help. Jason asks if that's accurate. Barbara isn't sure. 7:35 p.m., Faith sees Cecil pull up nose to nose with Maura's car. That leaves a window of 3 minutes. But is that really accurate timing right there?
I have no idea. I don't think that it is.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah.
He says he got there at 7:46, not 7:35. But Faith said 7:35. But that would mean it was, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes? But he's saying he was coming from the police station itself, which would be 18 minutes away. So either he was out patrolling or he was there. He says he arrived at 7:45 and then called it in at 7:46, like, I've arrived, right? Mm-hmm. There's complete audio of Jason's video that we're going to put in the description rather than play his content on our channel. I wasn't able to get permission to do that, so I don't want to play somebody else's audio, but it is very interesting to listen to that he does ask, was the bus searched? And she's like, no, I don't think so, because he left with them to search. Jason's like, who? And he says, he left with the police, meaning Butch. Butch left with the police to go search. And he says, she says, no, he left in his car to go search.
Such a
so to
small
me,
town thing to do.
That's, it's a small town.
Yeah, it's just
Cecil and Butch kind of know each other. So there's a person missing from a scene. And the last person to see her, you're going to allow to go search for her? I don't know if I like that at all, but that's what happened.
I mean, the weird part is, like right at this moment, you could see a scenario where, she actually did get into his bus. He goes home, he backs it in. She's still in the bus. Then he goes out and searches and everything to try to get police away. Oh, yeah, he's this helpful guy. And then, something happens after that. I mean, I'm just throwing it out
Totally
there
possible.
as a allegedly scenario. I mean, because
There's
it's pretty strange.
definitely a lot of alleged scenarios out here. I agree. And that's one of them for sure.
Yeah. All right.
This is the state of New Hampshire traffic accident report. Now, police notified 7:35 p.m. Well, no, they were notified at 7:27 p.m. Time of accident, 7:27. No, the time of accident was a couple of minutes before that.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's just when it was called in.
Very
right?
frustrating.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
See, it just shows you that's one of the things too. Sometimes like reporting, notation by officials, they're just not accurate, and then it's hard to come up with an actual theory. You have to come up with you have to find, did enough people say this now to then believe that, or doesn't that just, it's really frustrating.
Ooh, yeah.
Just in general, not just this case, but every time, whenever a reporter just takes liberty and just kind of throws out like, yeah, I mean, their property was like a mile and a half away and it was really like 0.25, it really screws things up, right? But they didn't really do the research to look, and they don't really care. They didn't really think that mattered at all. But if you're somebody like us who wants to put every little piece of the puzzle together, well, she likes to put even smaller little pieces of crumbs.
I know.
She would build a cake from crumbs.
Of this.
I like
it
that
really
one.
has been a lot of, oh, this person said this. Oh, really? And my method of thinking is, can I prove it true first? And then if I can't, then I've got to just put it to the side. Oh, I can't prove that true. So it goes on my notepad. And then I've got to prove it to be a lie.
Yeah.
Like his statements. There are too many times that the statements are inconsistent.
Yeah.
Either he said those things or he did not say those things. So either the news media, like you said, is taking liberty, or Cecil took liberty and inserted that she was drinking because he saw alcohol in that car. He put that on Butch without Butch ever saying it. Or did Butch say it? Mm-hmm. If Butch thought she was drunk, she would have had to been visibly intoxicated sitting in that car behind deployed airbags. Mm-hmm. How much can you really tell at night with no lights behind airbag? You know, she had just gotten into the accident. How quickly do airbags deflate? Like right away? Or
so Cecil just sort of, in his final report or whatever the hell you want to call it, maybe just taking liberties and just saying,
perhaps.
Oh yeah, she was. But the slurring the speech part seems like a really specific thing to mention.
Well, leaning on stuff is very specific too.
Yeah, so it's totally.
That means she's out of her car. But is she out of her car, or did you shine your light into her car? So which one is it?
Now, somebody said people are fallible. Look, yeah, sure, but that's not what's going on.
Yes.
A lot of these reporters, that's not what's going on. They just go, yeah. They just want to get the other part of the story. It's not being fallible.
That's
it's being
unfair.
It's being lazy, and I think it's being irresponsible when you don't report it accurately. Okay.
Very accurately, not kind of accurately.
Yeah.
Not a little accurately. This is somebody's sister and somebody's daughter, and she's still missing. You, as a reporter, have the responsibility, the full responsibility, to get every bit of detail you can, or don't report on that detail. Don't just make it up so that, it's newsworthy. Don't do that, because then as people are trying to help and look, you're reading all of these different accounts, and you could put something on somebody that's completely not true, like suspicion towards Mr. Butch, because all of these crazy accounts, you're now like, oh, he's the liar. That it's not right.
It drives
me
in
berserk.
reality, he could have just said the same thing the whole time, and then other people have added to it because somebody else said, oh, there was alcohol, so then they kind of come up with this other stuff. Could be. You never know. But,
so frustrating. Well, the next page is interesting, Gray. This is from the Woodsville Rescue Ambulance Director. Should you need to contact the firefighters, you may call the fire department directly at this number and leave a message. Also, Dick Guy mentioned that he had noticed a couple of odd things at the motor vehicle accident that he's curious if HPD was made aware of. If you need anything further, let me know. What were the odd things?
Oh, we
don't know.
Has anybody got a hold of this guy?
I have no idea what that means.
Dick Guy?
But I found this document while I was doing this and was like, what is this?
Did anybody get a hold of Dick Guy?
No, but I have a note to do that. To dig and find out what this is,
that'd be pretty
and to
interesting.
also see if Aaron knows, or if anybody else knows, what in the world that was odd. To find it important enough to write that out, I thought was important. So,
and he was okay. Interesting. We can assume he arrived at 7:45 p.m. to 7:46 p.m., and that's Cecil, right?
Yes, Cecil.
An article published in 2011 states Cecil was dispatched from the police station. That station is 18 minutes away from the scene. The issue here is there was a witness stating they saw Cecil, or another officer, on the scene earlier than 7:45 p.m.
This is probably the issue I hate the most in the case so far. The most. I really don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
There's a witness A, Karen, who seems very credible, but people can be fallible. We know that. Number 1, 9 minutes after leaving work, Karen is passed by an SUV. Its number is 001. It's approximately 7:28, and it's on Goose Lane. So it shows you where Goose Lane is. The number 2, at the exact time of dispatch at 7:29 and 36 seconds, SUV 001, while on Cemetery Road, here's dispatch. This is what they're thinking happened, because otherwise, how is this car coming back around her again? Deviates from his original plan, taking a right onto West Ammon Road. Okay, so you see the red line of the police officer. Number 3, 1 minute and 30 seconds from the first sighting, Karen is passed again by SUV 001 at approximately 7:30 p.m. Okay. At approximately 7:30 and 45 seconds to 7:31, SUV 001 allegedly arrives on the scene. Number 5, at approximately 7:32 p.m., Karen arrives on the scene 13 minutes after she left work. Well, why would Karen be so detailed? Well, because there's no cell service from right around where number 3 is all the way past where number 5 is. So what she'll typically do is once she gets up and over this hill, she makes a call home to tell them, you know, I'm on my way home and blah, blah, blah. So she noticed this cop car, and then she sees it again, the same one. So she took note of it. Then she drives past the accident scene and notices the cop car. So she doesn't think too much of any of this initially. She's been interviewed. She initially kept her name private. She did not want to be involved in any of this. But eventually she's interviewed. So there is a conspiracy.
So this witness A here, or I guess
Karen,
Karen,
yeah.
did she actually see Maura and everything? The car?
She did see the car, or she's seen the 2 cars, you know, like that, nose to nose, but doesn't notice people. You know, she's not really paying attention to that because she doesn't know the Maura Murray story yet, but she sees the 2 cars nose to nose, and she keeps on driving.
Well, it must have just driven away then, because when Butch got there, that car wasn't there, right? I mean, I don't know. It's just,
I guess,
this
right?
Is another red
I hate
herring.
the 2-car theory because it insinuates that there's a police cover-up issue.
But why wouldn't
right?
Faith have seen that police car there? I mean, that was right then. 7:27 was the call. This guy's there 3 minutes later. And
well, if you look at the next page, right, we're going to, don't you even dare read the first block on that page, Gray, and I do mean it. After yesterday, don't even read it.
Well, that's what I thought.
Okay, don't read it.
But I thought that was off
God.
when we're going through this, because I was about to say I thought it was 7:05.
Don't you dare read it.
I thought it was 7:05. That's what I said yesterday. I was going to say.
I refuse to address the 7:05 right now. But, right, witness A leaves work at 7:15. She's headed east towards 112. She lives in Lincoln. 7:20, A is passed by 001 SUV, heading east towards 112. The blue lights were on, but no siren. She loses sight of the car, no problem. 7:23, A is still on 112, headed east, and is passed again by 001, going east toward WBC. Again, A loses sight of 001. A arrives at WBC to see the SUV parked nose to nose with a dark car, but does not notice any people by the vehicles. She proceeds east and calls home from Beaver Pond, as she always does when she gets into cell range. Faith calls 911 after hearing a thud and an acceleration. She remains on the line with 911. Atwood pulls up on the scene beside the Saturn and blocks Faith's view. Atwood is there 3 to 4 minutes. He drives home. His wife calls 911 at 7:43. He's outside in his bus at this point. He should have a very good view of the accident scene, right? Because Atwood did say he went in, they called 911, he got back in his bus and was doing his paperwork. Also, my understanding is their phone is on the porch. If your phone's on the porch, how come you can't see the accident scene? Smith arrives on the scene and is driving 002, and it's a sedan. Nobody is at the scene at this point. Smith goes to the Westman and Atwood's residence, asks where the girl is, and calls in a be on the lookout at 7:54. Witness B, Susan Champy, left work in Lincoln at 7:20, arrives on the scene at 7:50 and sees 002 parked near the Saturn. The passenger side door of the Saturn was open onto the westbound lane. So there are some details there that are frustrating. Now, we have to keep in mind, John Smith has been up there. He has searched. He has dug. Boy, has he dug into this whole thing. His frustration is that if you're using all the witness statements and trying to really understand each moment by moment, because that's all that really matters is this time frame that we have. If Karen had come out and said, oh yeah, maybe it was 002, then this would all be nothing. Oh, maybe it was. I don't know. She's never said that. She said, no, it was an SUV. It was 001. And when she called in, they asked her, are you sure it was 001? Somebody allegedly found out that 001 was in the shop, or they said it was in the shop or something. Yeah. They've only got 5 cars, that little police department.
It doesn't make sense, though. So, I mean, I get what
it does not make sense unless, hear me out, conspiracy maybe, allegedly.
Oh, man.
It's a wild conspiracy. But what if that officer is driving by 001, whoever that is, allegedly, they see her, something happens. That can't be so because Butch doesn't see her until 7:30, right?
Yeah, but apparently he responded to the call in. Remember you said that
that wasn't until 7:27.
Yeah, but you said he responded to the call in, so he drives over there. But Faith, heard the thud and called 911 at that point. So are you saying the thud might be 001? But it can't be 001 running into Maura's car because he'd already been called to the scene. So when
was thinking maybe 001 was doing something else. That's when witness A sees him passing. You know, maybe he was patrolling. He's driving around, making sure nobody's in an accident. Whatever patrol cars do. I don't know what they do, but he's down wherever he is. Right? He's driving back up 112. He sees her. And something happens. But that's impossible between these moments.
Yeah, it doesn't make
because Faith has got eyes on her at 7:27.
Yeah, and never saw.
Or she has eyes on somebody in the car.
Yeah, and never saw. And one of the things that's interesting, though, is 001 is an SUV and Cecil's isn't, right? So
Cecil's
that would be
is a sedan.
So that'd be hard to make that error, like, you know, because she saw a SUV 001. So if they're both sedans.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah. I think it's just timing.
Which is why I can't go down this road. This is a whole, this here, witness A, witness B, and the 2 cars are a whole project in their own. Once I started going down that route this weekend, I was like, oh my goodness, this is brutal. But I did want to put it in here maybe as a teaser or to frustrate us before we go on to the next stuff. but there is a statement here from witness B, the same thing. She's just saying that she left her job in Lincoln. She was headed home. It was about 7:20. She arrived on the scene about 30 minutes later. As she was approaching, she first noticed the blue lights, a dark colored car in the eastbound lane, but it was headed west, and then saw the passenger side door of the Saturn open and the cruiser parked just west of the Saturn in the westbound lane, closer to Old Peters Road. Now, that's not nose to nose like others are saying. She also mentioned seeing a couple bystanders. So there were a couple of bystanders there by that point. We're not sure who they were. I've heard that they were the Westmans who come out after, but I don't know that to be true either. Fire and EMS were not there yet. So this would mean she arrived after 7:40, but before 7:56, because Atwood was not at the scene anymore because he was driving around too. And fire department and EMS had not arrived yet. So she says the car door was open. Cecil said the door was locked, that the car was locked. They had to get a warrant to get it open. She says it was open. There are photos that I have of that night, allegedly. I don't know if there were only 7 photos taken and you're looking in the car. You can see the stain of the wine or whatever it was on the side of the door. That's another question. Did he make his assumption based on seeing the liquid on the side of the door? How did he see the liquid on the side of the door if the doors were locked? Because you're looking from the outside in. So if you're looking in, you cannot see that liquid down there, because it's right there. So you go around to the other side. You're looking from the passenger side in. Maybe you're using a flashlight. But how do you know if that's a new stain, an old stain? How do you know that that's...
Yeah. Well, the main thing
liquor?
was that smelling the inside the bottle. I think that's a pretty big...
Well, there was a Coke bottle or something underneath the car, right?
Well, there was something that had a smell of alcohol inside the container. So that's a pretty big indication.
But that container was outside of the car, underneath it. How did that get there?
Well, maybe she took
How
it out
is there
and threw
any
it under
proof
there.
it was Maura's?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It just seems kind of like that, like what somebody else threw a bottle out and it just happened to be underneath the car that she crashed in. I think that'd be pretty low odds of that.
Think about this. If you're driving up to a scene and the doors are locked and there's nobody around, you're going to make an assumption that some drunk driver crashed the car. You can't even get in the car. Where's your assumption coming from that a drunk driver crashed the car?
But then later he talked to Butch and everything, so he probably just, in his report, it's different. You know, he's not like talking as he's showing up on the scene. You know, then he goes around and interviews people, and then he might come up with that. Yeah, I bet you even
Butch is the only one who saw her, though.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, but what I'm saying is he pulls up, right? And then eventually they get the doors open. They see all these other stuff, and they put together the story that she'd been drinking. He says that when he talked to Butch said she'd been drinking. He says that later, so he does say that.
He does say
so that maybe that's the story. When he finally writes his reports, it all sounds like this.
Somebody asked if I had the picture of the inside. Can you open up your Facebook, Gray, and grab this photo for me?
One thing I was going to say,
so that I can send it to you really quickly on the.
I don't think we're going to get to those other two. We'll just have to make tomorrow another part to read those things if you want.
I think we do have to do that tomorrow. I think you're right. But since we are on this, we probably should show it, right?
Well, didn't you think it was interesting too that Faith said that she didn't see any vehicles at all, but Butch said a whole bunch drove by. Like Faith didn't see anything. Like she didn't see a damn thing drive by other than, other than Butch and the police, I think. But Butch said a bunch of cars drove by. But see, that could be him trying to make it seem like, wow, there was a lot of opportunities for.
Yeah, there were so many cars. They were everywhere.
So I'm in our Facebook.
There were just cars all over the place. How busy is that road? I really did wonder that after reading this stuff. I was like, wow, do a lot of cars drive down this road?
Do you have the image?
Yeah, I'm sending it to you right now. Give me one sec. I just need to open Facebook back up. I want to make sure I didn't have any better photos of it, but I don't. I have these two here. And
hey, you guys, don't forget to join the channel even during these financially struggling times. Become a channel member, please.
Facebook, come on.
Or buy an extra gallon of gas. Forget it.
Yeah. Buy some gas.
75
I just saw something with
California's
gas prices.
Yeah, it's like California's a joke. Okay, but anyways,
I know, but the gas prices were crazy.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because you know how much of that is taxes? Like, they didn't reduce their percentage. Here's what people should be doing is lower the percentage of what they're taking. Because remember, it was like, okay, we're going to get 10% of your money, of your gallon is taxes. But when the prices go up, you don't need to keep saying we want 10% more of that. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it at what it was. Anyways, let me get this.
Yep. Pay attention. Hold on. Let me see if I can show you this.
And you'll just have to deal with what you're going to see. Don't go, great, zoom in. I mean, there you go right there, okay? You got that one.
I will listen, sir.
I don't know what direction to go.
Sir.
Do I go back?
I'm sending you photos. What are you talking about?
No, but which arrow button do I hit to go to the next photo? The one on the left or right? Because I don't want to, All right, hold on.
Please don't show anything else.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, now click one more. Get off of the screen, please, and download those.
Yeah.
Get off of the screen. Stop sharing that entire screen, if you would. And then,
well, because it'll take too long.
Save the photo.
Oh, jeez. I was trying to avoid having to do that. Oh, God. Here we go.
It'll take too long.
You just sent me two, or that's it?
Look at the last one that I sent you. That's the one you can show, is that last one that I just sent.
You just sent two, right?
I sent one more just now with much more detail in it, where you can see what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. You're crazy.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Why are you laughing, man?
Because you're nuts, man. That's all there is to it.
I'm nuts?
Oh, yeah.
You're
Great.
Ew. Not that one.
What? Well, that's one of them now. Okay, look.
Mr. Hughes. All right, that's fine. Just do whatever you want to do,
my friend. That's one with the car door open. See that?
Your world.
Yeah. All right, there's that one. All right.
You guys see what he does to me?
And then there's the front end there.
There's that.
Dented in.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that you really wanted you to see. Oh, God.
Is not that.
I think it's down here. Oh, there we go.
Aha. So,
yeah.
Look at that.
Another area containing the same type of stain was located on the driver's door panel. This area was heavily saturated and had a downward type spray. What was interesting about this was it mainly was positioned on the aft section of the door panel with almost a vertical border going down the right side just after the... God, what kind of...
What are you, a sportscaster?
Yeah, I was trying to sound like a newscaster.
Oh.
Going down the right side just aft of the interior handle. There was also no liquid aspersion on the driver's side seat. Okay.
All right. So somebody had asked if they could see the interior of the car, and there it is. So yes, the door is open. I think these pictures were taken the next day.
Watch this. You're having some drink. Boom. Oh, and then you spill some right into the door there.
Yeah, right into the door.
Right into the carpet, the carpeting or whatever you want to call that. You don't think so? Like you're just holding the drink in your hand? She's probably going
And
a
it
little
goes
too...
this way?
Well, it depends on how you hit. So let's say okay, the front left hit somewhere. We don't know when that was hit though. The front. God, Chloe just ran up to the door and sniffed underneath it. What's going on there?
We have to move, Gray. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys got all this one? All right.
Yeah, we got it.
Jeez. God, you're so mean. All right.
Allegedly. Okay. Guy Parody. The following interviews were conducted relative to my investigation into the disappearance of Maura Murray. My investigation is being conducted under the guidance of the Molly Bish Foundation and Maura Murray Task Force. Okay. John Marott, he is a neighbor, he lives right on that road, was interviewed via telephone relative to certain events concerning Maura that occurred February 9th, 2004. His wife, Virginia, listened to some of the interview and stated she was in agreement with what her husband was telling me. He stated that sometime between 1900 hours and 20 hours on February 9th, 2004, he went to the kitchen sink inside of his residence to get a glass of water. As soon as he got to the sink, he observed a car with its trouble lights, the four-way flashers on. The vehicle was on Route 112, known now as Wild Ammonoosuc Road, with the front end facing toward Lincoln, New Hampshire. Marott said the car was approximately 250 feet away and at somewhat of an angle from his residence. Marott also said that he had to look through several trees to see the car as well. He described the lighting conditions.
Not to interrupt you, but which one of these houses is it right here?
It's about 250 feet from the crash, so it was like right there.
You think maybe this one? Yeah, that looks like there's some trees. That would be a better angle. Or, well, let's see, 250. You're saying?
Well, his house is 43 Wild Ammonoosuc Road, so just scroll into that.
Oh, jeez. 43. Say it again.
Wild.
Yeah.
AMMON.
Oh, there it is, right there. Oh, okay. God. This is so brutal.
So he said he had to look through several trees to see the car. He described the lighting conditions around the car as poor, with only the area ambient light coming from a barn at the Westmans property across the street from the car. So the barn was across the street from the car. He related he could see a person walking around the vehicle, but it could only describe them as a shadowy figure at best. He could not provide any further details of this person. He further stated the car was off the road with the driver's side vehicle on the woods side with the passenger side along the roadway. He believed the car had been involved in an accident by hitting a tree and then backing up to the same tree. The vehicle was then positioned adjacent and parallel to the roadway. Marott noted that he did not hear or see the accident, but obtained this information from either the police or the rumor mill. He didn't know how she crashed, right? Here's my question. We keep finding out that her driver's door was positioned on a snowbank, right? So when Butch is speaking to her, is she leaning over and rolling down that window? How is he seeing her so closely? He said he came up and put a flashlight in the window and he could talk to her.
The driver's door, right?
Her driver's door
the passenger
is facing him, right? She's in the wrong side of the road.
No, her driver's side.
Coming in the bus.
Her driver's side door is in the snowbank. I would think he would have pulled up and had her roll down. You know, maybe her passenger window looked in. Because her driver's side would be facing, you know, away from the road. Right, so he would just look through the passenger side, right? Right.
Think about that, though. So you're driving down the road. You're on the right side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
She hits something and spins, right? So now she's in this lane over here.
Facing you.
Facing out that way.
Uh-huh. She's facing him when he comes around the curve, right?
Here he comes around that curve.
Yeah.
So he pulls over here like this and says he yells out to her. So does she already have the window? So she goes and rolls the window down.
Yeah.
There are so many versions of what he's
and he's
said.
so far away too, because he's in his driver's seat, so he'd have to, you know how you open up the bus door and be like, hey, how's it going, you know, like then she's way over in the driver's side through the car, and she's 5'6". Yeah, I mean, that's pretty
I
crazy.
just call a lot of crap. All right,
Hey,
next
but
page
by
on
the way,
this one.
but let me just say something really quick about this one. So it says John Murat, 43 Wild. It's not even anywhere near the crime scene. It's like way over here in this town. Look. So is that address incorrect or what? See, 43 Wild.
No, it's known as that now. Says that here that the vehicle was on Route 12, now known as Wild Amasunoksuk Road.
Mm-hmm. But that address that you gave me, 43 Wild, goes right here. That's where the pin is, way over in this town. I typed it in.
I don't know, but I know his house. I can tell you where his house was.
Yeah.
It's literally right there. Her crash is right there. He's right there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if he was like this one, you know, down in this one down here maybe, or this one perhaps.
He's looking
This is
kind of
12.
through the trees, so
it could be this one, the one that they searched that one time, remember? This is the one that they dug up the floorboards at later years or something. But you said how many feet did you say it was? Let's do a quick little... Was it 250 feet?
Yeah, 250 feet away. So John Marolt. Give me 1 second so that you can...
Okay, that makes sense. Then it's that red house. See, that's 253 to right here. And none of those are inside of it, so it could be this one. And let's see if that kitchen, can you actually make that out? Yeah, maybe a kitchen or something is like over here. And then you have to look through these trees and see that right around this corner. Does that even make any sense? Well, that time of year, the trees would be more barren though, right?
Yeah, they'd be pretty...
Yeah.
You know, you could see pretty much all the way through them. There's typically not unless they were evergreen trees, but...
Yeah. So that could be it right there. I don't want to state that as a fact, but that's the only one that was within 250 feet. Because that was right there.
I think we'd need a better...
It'd be inside of that circle. I mean, I could actually show it. Let me do that again now that you're looking. Let me put it right here. So it's feet, right? So if I went right at the crime scene, or the crash site, it's actually a little bit farther up there, but it's just like right there is 253. See? Just right there. None of those, well, I guess this one down here, 328, but I don't know. And just
looking to see if I have it anywhere, but
this is actually right over here. This is my older Google.
I mean, he's
Earth.
got to be able to see them really well. If he's saying 250 feet away, that's not too far. So, and I don't know if Kimmy's in here anymore. She probably could have.
And he might just be
said it.
estimating 250. This could be it over here, but it's hard to say. I guess we could go down. How about we go down to the crime scene? And then
There's the barn.
There's
Faith's house right there.
Man, I'm not sure who could see anything. I guess if it was the right time of year and there was no leaves, you might be able to. That's Faith's house.
Turn around.
And Atwood's over here.
And
on the
see the
left.
blue thing right there?
Yeah,
that's the ribbon, right?
Yep.
That they've now torn down. And that red thing that you see right there is Butch's house.
Oh, maybe right there.
Could be right there.
So that's the one. I think that's the one that we were just looking at. That was about 250 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? So let's see.
Yep.
Oh yeah, boom. See, that's crazy.
Yep, right there. So that's Faith's house. There's the barn. And if you turn around and go down to Butch's house for me, we can see. Also, if you're sitting at the crash site, Gray,
mm-hmm.
Can you just pretend you're the car for a second? Turn it around and flip it to the wrong side of the road and look that way.
Yeah.
See, this is 2-lane road. To me, that curve is not sharp. I guess at nighttime, though, with snow, sure.
You don't think that's sharp? I think it's
not in the least bit. No, I don't.
I think it's like 90 degrees when I look at it up in the air.
But when you're driving it,
yeah, but you're driving and let's say you're going a little too quick, and you're like, oh shit, and
I mean, if you're driving really fast, perhaps, but to me, no. It doesn't. It just looks like a curve.
It's like almost 90 degrees. It's pretty.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I think in the daytime it wouldn't seem that sharp, but at night in the snow and you might be going a little too quick, and then it's like, oh shit, like that.
Well, go up to Butch's house and see what you can see from Butch's house to that ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a winter view? I mean, I know there's not, but
no, there might be one if I did the.
That's not Butch's house.
Well, that's Butch's right there, though.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just saying I'm looking from
the porch
him down toward the crime scene's right where that car is right now, way down there. It's
technically, yeah. But he's parked like there, right? Because he's got his bus parked out there. In his big driveway right there. Right there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it'd be hard to say how far he backed. Like if he backed in and his driver's part was out, maybe we don't know.
I mean, the nose of the vehicle was probably right around there.
Here, let's see if there's any just random. Wouldn't that be crazy if we could find a
one with his bus in it?
Yeah,
that would be pretty random.
I mean, wouldn't he just leave it there?
They moved allegedly very quickly after this.
None of it's clear.
I don't know how soon after, but
really?
Pitch black at night in February. True. It's not an A show. Yeah, no, exactly, Janet. I'm the same. Unless she's a very fast driver, which she may have been.
Well, it's also, even if you were just driving 40, and you're just...
If you're driving 40, that is not, unless the roads were icy.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but they said it was, right? There was snow on the grounds and it was crusty, but there was...
That was 36 hours later.
Right, but that means that there was snow on the ground before because it hadn't snowed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means there was snow on the ground, there was just no new fresh prints and no new snow that night. Like it wasn't snowing during her crash.
Actively, correct. All right, so...
All right, let me get back to that.
Yeah.
Were you done with this one?
Yeah. Next page, it says, the Westmans noted at some point the emergency flashers for the vehicle also came on. After the Westmans watched the car for a few minutes, Bruce Atwood, one of the neighbors, drove by and stopped at the collision scene. He was one of the local bus drivers and was in fact driving a large yellow standard school bus at this time. He said the bus stopped facing east, opposite of the parked vehicle, at which time Atwood opened the door of the bus and began to speak to the Westmans, later learned Maura Murray. Maura at this time had gotten out of her car and was speaking to Atwood from across the top of her vehicle. The Westmans recalled that Atwood spoke to Maura for only 1 to 2 minutes. After this conversation, Atwood left, drove the school bus back to his house where he parked it as he usually does. The Westmans said Maura did not get into the school bus with Atwood, nor did Atwood get out of the bus when he spoke with Maura. Well, if Atwood was blocking their view...
How would they know?
They would have had to seen her get back in the car, but they didn't see that either. But maybe she was turning the lights on and off and doing other things. I don't know. So both of the Westmans said that a couple of minutes later, after Atwood and the bus left, they saw some activity outside of the car and believed it was Maura walking around her vehicle. Tim Westman said he could see a small light near Maura's face and thought she was smoking a cigarette. He later learned that Maura did not smoke, and the light he was probably seeing was a light from her cell phone. Another couple of minutes passed when both the Westmans noticed they saw no further lights coming from Maura's vehicle. Another couple of minutes went by, at which time the Westmans saw a fully marked Haverhill police car coming from the west and parked near the scene. They observed the police car because it had its blue emergency lights on. Another couple of minutes went by when the officer assigned to this police car came to their front door. The officer asked where the female operator of the car was. Both Westmans stated they did not see her leave the area, but noted as she walked from the collision scene, she would have had to have walked eastbound. They noted that had she walked west, they would have seen her. The officer also noted that he came from the west and did not see her along this route. The Westmans noted it was between 5 and 6 minutes in the time when Atwood left in his school bus to the time the Haverhill police officer arrived on the scene. The Westmans stated that soon after the officer left the residence, the local fire department, EMS staff, and other local and state police officers arrived at the scene of the collision and began to search. Both Westmans also noted that the morning of the 10th, both of them looked their property over, found no footprints in the snow to show where, if, or how Maura had left the accident scene. They said there certainly was enough snow for a person to leave footprints in the snow, and none were found by anyone in the immediate area of where Maura left her car. Both Tim and Faith could not offer any further investigative leads into this matter.
Did you read the word flasher in here? Flashers? I thought you said that, but I haven't been able to see it. Like the flashers were on the car.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say that?
That was on the first page, right?
Yeah, where was that sentence?
It was the first. Murat stated that sometimes he got to the sink. He observed a car with its trouble lights on, four-way flashers.
Okay,
on.
where is that in this page here?
First page. Go back one.
Oh, I think I skipped that one. Oh,
second paragraph.
I see.
Third sentence. And then tomorrow we will do our reading of the John Monaghan, the state trooper, Monaghan, and Cecil Smith transcripts.
Yeah, that's so weird. I thought you read that on that page you were just reading. That's so weird.
No, I did not.
Huh.
That was on the
so that guy
first
saw
one.
the flashers, which matches Atwood. See, he
saw the flashes,
well,
though.
Atwood told her to turn on the flashers, right?
But did he see them prior to Atwood pulling up?
Well, see, that'd be weird. Then that they were already on. Why
Wouldn't
would he tell him to tell her to turn them on? Okay. God, it's so weird. I thought you read it in this one. All right. So we're now. That's it, right? Reading of John Monaghan transcript, Cecil. Yeah. So maybe we should just do like a show for each transcript. I mean, it's like there's no way
the transcripts are only like 35 pages, but if you want to pick them apart, it might have to be a show for each. Maybe one Friday, one Saturday. I don't know.
Well, it seems like it's hard to avoid stopping and going, oh, wow, because remember, and then you're remembering something else, right? Makes it difficult. Yeah. And we still get through it, but at least you're,
yeah, I mean, this one's about 2 hours. We're trying to keep them condensed as much as we can, but, that's not always easy. It's not always easy because there's so much to say in this. It's so many years later. Things do change, but thanks to a lot of people who've done great work before us, we can go back in time and look at this stuff. It's just really difficult to pinpoint what's accurate and what isn't. It's very, 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 very frustrating.
Yeah.
This is by far the most time-consuming thing. It's very interesting because you almost feel a little crazy thinking, why do people keep saying every person who's interviewed who went out and looked and did this and that, they're like, yeah, there were no footprints. Well, has that just become an urban legend type deal, right? Or do they really mean it? No, we went out the next day and we looked around. There were no footprints. What are they saying? Because I keep mentioning it to you and you're just like, there were no footprints.
Well, I mean,
everybody.
I'm not saying that somebody didn't see the footprints. I'm just wondering how meticulous they were. Like, let's say she walked, if I was going to throw this picture up here on the screen.
Well, I mean,
And
I would
let's say
guess
she walked
too,
over
if
here
Faith
like
and her
this,
husband went out there,
and she
they were
like kinda
probably
goes
like,
down
where the
a-
hell did that girl go?
You know, let's say she goes down here and then sort of goes by the side, you know, like a house, and kind of wanders off into, you know, did you actually see, did you check every single, you know, and it's like all you'd have to do is miss
Well-
one little instance because she's kind of small, and there's only two
she's my
footprints.
size.
Well, 2 footprints, right?
Right.
And that's it.
But grid searches, line searches, infrared helicopter thingamajiggy things, you know, the whole 9, Gray. How? Where is she?
I don't know. She vanished. You know,
I mean,
be
I'm
honest with
truly
you-
glad that it's this many years later, because at the time I was a Bostonian. I would try to be up there searching. You know, if today, who I am today, was still living there when this happened, I would try to be up there like, where are the footprints? But you know, it's a frustrating
And I
one.
assume they checked somebody like this lake over here. It's right there, and there's a river right there. But again, I mean, they, even despite the fact that everybody said there's no footprints, they seem to do a huge search anyways. So why would they do that
course.
if they believed so strongly in the footprint information? See, that's an interesting thing.
I don't know. It is
there
an
you go.
interesting question, right? Like, where in the world? Where is she?
I think the one problem is
know.
the more you dig into it, the more frustrating it is, because it's too, you know, the stories change, people say stuff, they just give out of time, and we don't even know if it's accurate time, but that's what they remember it being their timeline, but it doesn't really
Well,
fit
that's
the
why it's
known-
best to go back in time.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you don't really, it makes it more confusing at this. I mean, now it's like, wow, really? This other lady was passed by this car 001, and then that
Hey,
one.
this was all at the time. This
Yeah.
was all at the time. They called the police at the time. They reported all of this.
Yeah.
They didn't wait till 2020. They did it back then. And now people are, you know, more so interviewing them, but they have this information from back then. Right? So,
Right.
you know, I don't want to hear today all of a sudden, oh yeah, there was a witness C and she just didn't want to come forward after all these years. No.
Yeah, and then but
Gotta
Cecil,
go with what we
when
had then.
But when Cecil was interviewed, that was a lot of years later, right? When he mentioned
When he was interviewed for this podcast, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But other people have, you know, there's a whole series of years that all of this stuff went on. Years.
and then you have the interview with, like, Cecil, though, talking about, you know, Maura was standing up, could barely stand up, and was slurring her voice. But then it turns out he has, you know, Alzheimer's. So then you say, well, is that something? I mean, but he was kind of saying that even before that, though, right? I mean, who the hell knows? You know, that's a part that is. It's just, I mean, couldn't you just have one aspect of it that was just ironclad? You know what I mean? There
You'd
isn't
hope
anything.
so.
There's nothing other than maybe when the call came into 911. You know, the rest of them
like,
are,
you know, exactly what Kimmy's saying. Like, it's literally a month of covering a fraction of this case. You know, she's a local. She's been on this forever, too. It's... And I think this case, you don't know when to stop or where to go. And I can see that with myself already. And I know, you know, you cover so many different things, but, you know, everything I was looking at, I've kind of put down over here in my pile. And this is all I can focus on because there are so many threads and strings that I almost feel compelled, like, I must follow this. Where is this going to lead me to?
yeah.
And a lot of times it just leads you down to nonsense. Oh, this was somebody's theory that somebody repeated. And, you know, the conversation came back up about this because of Tim and Lance in the Missing 411 podcast. And I think that's great. But when you stop and just think for a second, the same crime con we were at, her sister was there after all this time. Her sister's still making the track. She's still going out there. They're still searching. So to me, that's, you know, I think it's, even though it's frustrating and it's confusing, I think it's very important.
Yeah, they're still going out there, even though there were no footprints.
There were no footprints.
And yet they're still going out there searching. So there must be some
They are still going out there searching.
Some doubt as well.
Well, did somebody cover it up? So there was, you know, we'll get into another guy with his brother and the knife and the whole situation. Did somebody come out? You know, did she start to walk away and they grabbed her and he just covered the footprints up that were there in the snow? It's totally plausible that you just, you know, kind of wipe it over. Now you don't have the footprints anymore, do you?
Yeah, in between. I mean, the thing is,
there are very suspicious people on this road.
Butch Atwood's timing makes him, you know, the most suspicious. Like, oh my God, like this guy, he pulls up, even asked her to come over, then he backs in, and Cecil comes over and he jumps in with Cecil. Hey, let's go over here. You know, it's just see, a lot of that stuff is I'm just saying this based on the information. If I was covering a case, you know, at first I wasn't, you know, didn't really think of that at all. But when you kind of look at right now, right at this scene, he's the one, you know, the last person to have spoken to her within a 3-minute period. But then, you know, maybe some person happened to drive by or was hiding in the bushes.
We haven't got to the brothers. The knife man.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you all about him. The next part says potential suspects.
Oh, God. Oh, boy. Down the rabbit hole we go. Hey, she's mainly
somebody
doing
approached
it.
her father with a knife and said, I think my brother could be involved in this. Yeah. And he was living on a trailer on the property over there and the whole situation. It's a situation, Gray.
Okay. All right.
Oh, it is. I mean, if my sister comes to you after Scott's dead, knock on wood, and says, "Hey, Gray, you're a good investigator. I think my sister did this," and hands you a knife, what are you're gonna be like? What? You know. So yes, there's even more crazy to this story. There's even more crazy.
I don't want to be. You don't want to do like the 100 episode type thing, all right?
No, and I also don't want to do the nonsensical. Like, oh, let's just put this in here because this is really juicy, the guy with the knife. No. If it seems like this could have been a potential person, there's a criminal record, maybe there's violence that went along with this. How close was he? Could it be possible? Does he have an alibi? All of those things. And if it's plausible, then sure, we can talk about it. But I don't want to drag this out for views and say, oh, yeah, we're going to just stick on this because hopefully people will come watch us. No.
Next week,
I want to put out the relevant information that belongs.
I'd like to talk about where Butch Atwood bought his shoes. We got a whole 6-part series on that. Yeah, that's going to be great.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I know it could easily be. Obviously, these people made hundreds.
Oh, it could be. This could go on forever. It truly could, you know, there are threads and rabbit holes and pieces that you could theorize and pick apart for literally a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 2 shows every week, a month that we could just sit and talk about this because there's that much to it. But I find that to be, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I don't think that's appropriate. So we're just going to talk about the stuff that, you know.
Well, it's like what you're doing. You're kind of going through the stories and putting everything together. I guess you have the time to do the rabbit holes. I got like all these other cases, but you know, so obviously, I mean, I knew the general stuff, but now it's like, wow, this is, you know,
Yeah, I'm doing the part that I love doing, right? Which is all of this stuff, and then just trying to put it together for you in a neat package so we can go over it.
Well, it's weird for me
while you're working on.
I can do that when
other cases.
Yeah, like I can get like that when I get stuck, like on the Brian Laundrie one early on. Like you're
that way on the Delphi case.
Yeah, like
everything about it.
Dig in, but when I'm doing different cases every night, then it's like it's hard to do a deeper dive. I'm just doing what the reporters were saying and put it together and see what we think. Get the story out there.
Oh, the A-frame house is coming, Sugar Magnolia. Don't you worry.
Is that its own episode?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's its own episode. Yep.
All right.
There's not enough coffee in the world for all this, Gray.
Yeah. So,
the A-frame is its own episode, absolutely.
So thank you for...
And also, Maura's sister. That's really, the most, other than her dad, of course, and her brother, but that's the most important person. She's putting her heart out there. She's out there every day.
We should
TikTok.
Get her on.
I'm going to email her. I just didn't feel it was appropriate to email her when we're still theorizing about different things and trying to explain the story to the audience. To bring her on and question her about these people yet. Maybe kind of when we're tying up at the end with our list of questions, then we can try to speak to her and have her tell more story because she's the one who should be telling it. The A-frame investigation. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a whole. It's a situation.
Yeah.
This whole thing is, but
awesome.
Justice for Maura, and I wish they would find something else, because Fred's getting up there and he deserves.
I'm sorry, it looks like I'm looking down at you the whole time because the way I have my laptop, you're down here and my screen's over there. I don't have.
That's all right. I always screw it up. I have you on this screen.
Here, look.
Which makes me look over here. I don't know how. Whatever.
This is all I got right now. This is my laptop, and then the other one's sort of behind it, and I'm on this little tiny stupid desk. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That does not look fun.
No, it's not good.
The accident with Fred's car was going to meet someone. Meetup didn't happen, I think. Thanks, Chains.
All right, so thank you to
Discerning
Georgina Stoliker, Christina, Teresa Ann, and Bama Forever.
Thank you, guys.
Very cool. So, good job putting that one together. We didn't even make it to the second part. I mean, there's 3 parts. I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Well, at some time, either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, we're going to get to the transcripts, whatever day is going to be best for us. But we'll do those, and I'll be working on this potential suspects one this week, and then we'll definitely be back Thursday with that. So
yeah. So this weekend, I don't know if I'll have my new computer set up yet because you have so much crap you got to do with it, but.
Yeah.
Hopefully I get it today. It's supposedly out there. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for being here. And
in this room.
What's that?
I didn't know if my son was on the ground or a dog. It's a dog.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. I guess you'll get who's ever watches.
Let's do every day
tomorrow. Tonight, I mean, on my show. But you just did one earlier on your.
I did one on my Unplugged. It was.
It was unplugged.
I'm seeing things lately, Gray. I think I could be going crazy.
I think you might be.
I saw my Pomeranian up here earlier. Do you think she was up here? She was not.
Well, just like earlier, I thought you said the flashers in that second page.
But I didn't.
But it was me remembering something from an earlier time. I'm
not talking to you anymore, Gray. I'm done.
Very weird. All right. Well, we'll see you guys later. And as I always say to everybody, until next time, be safe out there and...
we love you so much.
That's right.
All right, I'm hanging up. I'm not going to be here. I'm leaving.
Oh, come on. You're mean.
I have to.
You always have to have like a minute.
No, we don't. We've spent 2 hours together today. I have to go now. Love you. Bye.
Yeah.
5 brain cells, 4 aren't working.
live.